All right. Good evening, everyone. I am Reverend Sherri James. Hey, Yvonne. Good to see everybody. I am so excited about tonight. This chapter was just off the chain. It was absolutely amazing. Hey, Beverly, Quintina, Eves. Good to see you guys. Closing some windows, so just hang tight. All right. Do, 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 do. Okay. I got to pull up all my different little things. The YouTube changed the way that they allow you to do stuff, so I can't toggle between screens. So I've got an iPad, I've got the book. So just when I'm darting around, I'm pulling from different sources. But anyway, I'm really excited about this lesson tonight. This chapter 5, the power of expectancy, is just pure fire. It is absolute fire, and I am anyway. I'm excited to share it with you tonight, and I'm ready to get into it. So let me bring up the PowerPoint. Let's see, Sherri. Okay. All right. All right, I think I got it. Uh-oh. Where'd it go? Hold on for a second, guys. All right, Google, be my friend, Google. Okay, let's see, stop sharing. Mercy. But there it is. Okay, great. Okay, so the question that we want to answer tonight is, do you know how to develop expectation for what you really want? And this chapter is called The Power of Expectancy. And so I just want to take a pulse, 60 seconds, kind of want to get a sense of where everyone is. And so if you wouldn't mind, 60 seconds, how do you develop expectation for something you want? How do you develop expectation for something you want? And you can put it in the comments. You can unmute yourself if you want to. How do you develop expectation for what you want? 45 seconds. How do you develop expectation? And it's okay. I'm looking for guesses. So I'm not looking for exact answers or anything like that, because we're going to get to that in the conversation. 30 seconds. How do you develop expectation for something you want? How do you develop expectation for something you want? 20 seconds. 20 seconds. How do you develop expectation for something that you want? Yvonne says, keep my mind on the thing. Good, good, good. Yvonne, Constance says, get into the feeling of having it. Yes, yes. Okay, time. Andrea says, feel the feeling. Feel the feeling for what it would feel like as if it already happened. Okay, these are good. This is actually really good. Eve says, stay focused on what you want. Quintina says, prayer, meditation, and having faith in knowing that if it is for me, I will receive it. Beverly says, prayer, talking about it, action plan. Joe says, imagine it. And Eve says, believe it, you receive it. Believe you receive it. Got it. Okay, these are good. These are good. Let's keep moving. I'm going to come back to that. So hold that, and we'll come back to that. So got a couple of announcements. Opening prayer. We're going to talk about why universal law matters for you. You get what you expect, how to expect the best in life, and then Q&A. So know your why. So last week I feel was so crazy with the child attending the Bible Hangout, but just the why I do this. This information is so important to me. It's so valuable to me. It has made such an incredible difference in my life. And it's why I show up no matter what, and why I care to do this in the first place. And so I thank you for showing up, but I would be here even if you didn't show up. I would show up and talk to myself about it. But it really has made an enormous difference in my experience. Being able to live a life of intention, a life of purpose, and to to live a prosperous life. And prosperity, of course, is far more than money, but to have the love that I want, the peace that I want, the joy that I want, and I want other people to have that experience. And if you have those things, and I believe you have those things, to have them in greater degree than you have them. And so it's important to me to make this available. And my deepest prayer is that this is helpful to you. It does cost to produce this in terms of time away from my church and other things. And so I'm asking if this means something to you and this has helped you, if you would consider making a gift. And you can do that right at revsherri.com. And it means that this can go out around the world. I actually have found an editor who's going to help me begin to put these segments into usable pieces. So the support that you give is going to pay for that editor. And so just know that those funds are being put to proper use. The way that this series works, there are 3 parts. There's the blog, there's the Bible Hangout, and there is the Universal Law Library. And that is a free resource. I was telling the people in the green room before we got started that I have a goodie for you guys next week that is absolute fire, and I cannot wait to send it. I was so tempted to send it like this week because I just wanted to get it out of my hands. It was like that hot, but it'll have to wait till next week. So I encourage you to join the Law Library. It's free, and you can if you're on my newsletter, you'll get the link to it, and it's in perpetuity you'll have access to it. In September, I'm going to be speaking in Virginia Beach. And so if you are on the East Coast, I would love to see you. I'll be speaking at the Unity Church of Tidewater as part of 2 events. The first event is the Fillmore Festival, and that's on Friday, the 22nd. And then on Saturday, the 23rd, I'm going to be speaking at the Metaphysical Bible Gathering. So it would be an honor to meet you, to hang out with you, and to just to kick back and have some food and just, spend time together. So I would love to see you if you're on the East Coast and you can get to Virginia Beach or close to that area. My book is out. I'm so excited and I'm grateful. I am holding up my copy here. This is available on Amazon.com. You can get it. It is, I'm really proud of this book, and I've got some really good stuff coming up in the fall as part of the larger launch for the book. And so my question for you guys, or my request, because you guys are with me every week, if you would consider getting the book and writing a review for it. I know when I buy stuff off of Amazon, I read every review. And the first thing I do is I go read all the bad reviews because I want to know, like, okay, is this somebody who's just disgruntled or somebody who just didn't get the information? And I base a lot of my decisions on what I purchase off of what those reviews say. And so the review that you leave on Amazon really will make a difference. And I thank you in advance for doing that. Very much appreciate that. The scripture for this series is, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill." And that's Matthew 5:17. This whole series is about the fulfillment of the law, that we live in a universe of spiritual law. It is governed by what we call universal law, aka spiritual law. And there is a way that it works, and there is a way that we can cooperate with it. Jesus is our example for how to cooperate with the law. And so to fulfill, when you fulfill something, you cooperate. You cooperate with what needs to be done. And so this series is about cooperating with universal law. So if you could just take a moment to just relax. And just be in this present moment and be open to the flow of God in you. You are a spiritual being. You live in a spiritual universe. You are governed by spiritual laws. And those spiritual laws are discernible. They're not beyond where we are. And so we open our hearts and our minds to understand the law wherever we are on the spiritual path, so that we might be more in alignment with our way shower, Jesus the Christ. Thank you, Jesus, for holding our hand through this process. Thank you for just guiding and opening our hearts and our minds and just imparting this wisdom to us. And I just ask that this class is helpful to someone, that this is actually making someone's life better. And I thank you for the privilege of doing this work. I thank you for the honor of sharing the message that you have given me. In the name and through the power and through the nature of Jesus, it is so, and so it is. So why universal law matters for you? So we see this card every week. And the reason that universal law matters for you is that everything you want in life will be manifest according to universal law. So it's important that you make it a priority to understand the way that it works. Everything that you want. And this is the thing, there's some things that you, just because of the family that you grew up in or the culture that you were raised in, there's some things that you manifest like that because it was just in the fabric of how you learned to do life. And so it's a no-brainer for you. But we don't want to just do the things that are no-brainers for us. We're on this earth plane to grow. We're in this school of life in order to develop and to stretch and to become more than we are right now. So it's not enough to just do the things that are no-brainers for us. We actually want to do the things that we don't know how to do, that are beyond where we are. And if we're going to do those things, we're going to need to learn how to take the same law that we use to do the no-brainers and use them consciously to do the things that we want to learn how to do. So in my life, I'm interested in teaching on a global level. I see myself traveling to other countries. I feel a pull. I can't say I necessarily see that, but I feel a pull. I feel a need to go to Africa, to go to Europe, to go to Japan, to go to China, to go to Brazil and share this message, right? I feel a pull for that. I don't consciously know how to do that. I came out of Houston, Texas, out of the country. We had a chicken coop and we used to go and pick berries in the woods, and we had to know where the spit was so you wouldn't get bit by the snake that had passed that way before you. I don't know how to get to China and teach. I don't know how to get to South Africa and teach, right? But there's a law, God's law, that I can follow that will allow me to do that. And so anything that you want that's beyond what you know how to do, right, that you can do, that's like it's automatic for you to do, you're going to have to learn how to consciously use universal law to be able to do it. And so it's not left to chance, that you can participate, that you can cooperate with the law of God. Jesus is our guide in this process. So what we are sharing is, or participating in, is learning how to work the law according to the way that he left, as far as the information that we have about him. Yvonne's, I'm sorry. I'm reading the thing. Constance said something. I skipped ahead, but I'll come back to that in regards to the book. Thank you for that, Constance. So this is why universal law is so important. And this is why it is imperative that we develop a conscious awareness of how to use it. It's not just, you're not trying to get to heaven in like some kind of like destination sense, but you are trying to get to a greater expression of yourself, right? Because you're more than this human flesh and bone body, right? That you are spirit. And how do you let that spirit out? How do you get these books out of you? How do you get this music that's in you out? How do you get around the world and teach this lesson? Like, how do you do that? Well, there's a law that governs how things happen. And so the process is learning that law and then cooperating with that law to actually live that experience that's been in your heart, that's implanted. It came on the planet with you. It's always been with you. It's been the dream that's been in your heart. So the thing is that you get what you expect. Now, I've been in this teaching, this what we call New Thought Christianity, for about 20 years now. Almost 20 years this year, 20 years next year. And I have heard teachers say forever, you get what you expect. You know, reality tends to conform to expectation. You don't get what you want, you get what you expect. And the thing that no one ever seemed to do a good job of was to tell me how to develop expectation. Right? I get it. Expect the best. Right? You need to expect it. You need to get into the feeling of it, whatever. But okay, but how do I set up expectation for the best in my heart when there's no physical evidence? I get how to do it when there's physical evidence. If I were pregnant, about to deliver a baby, well, expectation is high, right? My stomach is protruding, and there's some things happening in the body, right? But what happens when you don't have physical evidence? What if the thing you want lies far beyond your comfort zone? Like, what do you do then? Or what happens, I went through a really dark period financially in my life. It's actually that period of time out of which the money poems came, coming through the 2007, 2008 financial downturn, going through a foreclosure personally, right? And the question was, what happens if you're in the midst of a storm? You're knee deep in the crap. How do you develop a sense of expectation, right? Because all around you is drama. All around you is chaos, right? So how in that situation do you develop a sense of expectation? And that's really the secret, right? That's the secret of all achievement, is learning how to set up that expectation for what you want, especially in the midst of experiencing what you don't want. So you may be in the middle of a serious health challenge, right? Where every time you go in for a checkup or some kind of test to kind of say, okay, well, where are you in the process of coming up out of this physical situation? And every time you go in, either the numbers are worse or they're not moving, right? How in that moment do you develop the expectation for health, right? What can, and so that's what this conversation is about tonight. How do you develop expectation when there's no physical evidence? Beverly says snakes and chickens. Yes, snakes and chickens. Snakes and chickens. Yes, that was my upbringing. Snakes, peacocks. We had peacocks, and you could hear them. If I could make the sound, it was like rah, rah, something like that. But literally, we had peacocks like at the back of the neighborhood, and it was crazy. It was country. We had four streets, and it was actually farmland that had been repurposed. And this farmer, Mr. Armstrong, who knows what his first name was, he had sold off different plots of land to families, and so people came and built. It wasn't a pre-planned neighborhood, so people came and built these individual homes like on these plots of land. And it was, I'll tell that story one day. But country. Real country. So the secret to achieving is learning to expect what you truly want, even when life presents evidence to the contrary. And so my question is kind of on the scale of 1 to 10, right? How well are you able to expect the best in the midst of a storm? If you had to rate yourself, and 1 being, girl, I'm a hot mess. It's a hot mess in my life, and I'm a hot mess with expecting better than what I got right now. And 10 being, I don't put any attention on the drama that's happening right now. I am totally living in my overflow, even though life doesn't look the way that I want it to look. How well are you able to expect the best in the midst of a storm? If you had to rate yourself, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And I guess if I had to rate myself, I would say, where am I? I would say I'm probably at like a 7, 8, right? I ain't claiming 10 because I have my moments. Yeah, I have my moments, but I think I'm way better than I was. I'm way better than I was, where I'm not caught up in the things that have not gone right. And yeah. Ray says 8. Zeline says 9.5. All right, Zeline. All right, girl. Andrea says 7. Yes. Victoria says I'm at a 5. Quintina says 6. There are times when I get distracted by the drama. Yes. Joe says 6. Okay. All right. Cool. Good. Constance says 6 to 7. I'm getting better and allowing and knowing that I created it. So move through it. Yes. Yeah, I'm working on it. But I got some stuff. I'm gonna share tonight that I think will help us all get to that 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10. So or if you had an 8 and 9, 10 and above. So I want to talk a little bit about why expectation matters. And this was actually, I thought, this was wonderful. Expectation creates energy in the body. So in the book, what he says is that when we have an attitude of expectancy, our mind senses it and starts to build. He talks about mind the builder, that when the feeling of expectation is drummed up inside of us, the mind goes to work building the experience. And so it's the spirit of expectancy, right? The sense that something is about to happen, that is the key to turning on the building aspect, the imagination, right, of the mind. That's the building part of the mind is the imagination. And that when we have this sense of expectation, that actually activates it. So I started researching this because I was really just kind of curious on what else was out there. And I actually ran across a lot of science behind this. It's not in the book. It's just, and I put the resources at the end of the blog post. So if you want to read some of the links on your own. But when we imagine future events, the brain releases dopamine in proportion to the amount of pleasure we anticipate experiencing. So you imagine going to see a longtime friend, somebody you really just love and appreciate, who you haven't seen in a while, and you are in anticipation of seeing that person, and you know the things you're going to talk about. You're going to catch up on old times, and so there's this joy. Your brain releases dopamine in proportion to the amount of pleasure you anticipate experiencing. And researchers have proved that dopamine regulates motivation, causing individuals to initiate and persevere toward whatever good it is that they want. And so the hardest time to control that expectation is when you're in the midst of a storm, because you might be in the midst of a life challenge. And the thing about a life challenge, just tell them what I've been through, that you get to this place where you just, at least for me, I didn't want to get out of bed. I flat out did not want to get out of bed. And I'm moving through the day, and I get to the end of the day, and when I should be working on my side business, but I don't have the emotional energy to do it. And so all I can do is just go get in the bed and get up and do the next day. And it's almost like days kind of run together. But the thing is that if you can, why expectation is so important is that if you can introduce a level of expectation, it will give you a shot of dopamine to move beyond that feeling of lethargy, that feeling of just going through the motions, right? And so, and the thing is that it's just a slight shift in the expectation that will make a world of difference. And this is just some of the science. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It's a chemical messenger that helps in the transmission of signals in the brain and other vital areas. And so what happens is that you have some unexpected good, and it raises the dopamine level in your body, and it gives you this shot of energy. And so the more that you can create these feelings of like unexpected joy, meaning that, like, okay, so if you walk down the street and you find $5 on the corner and you pick it up, it's like, oh, I found $5, like, right, and that's a shot of dopamine. And you go the next day and it's like, oh my God, I found $5 again. It's a shot of dopamine. If after, like, say, there's no set time, but if you get used to the feeling of picking up the $5, if every time you get to the corner now there's $5, it ceases to produce that unexpected joy, right? So you don't get that dopamine shot when the brain gets used to it. So it's the unexpected joy that actually raises the level of dopamine in the body. So to the degree that you can continue to give the mind new stimuli to excite it, you get that shot of energy. And so and that's why routine is so challenging, because you drop into the routine and then the brain gets used to it. There's nothing new for it to explore, right? But something that Pam Grout, Think and Grow Rich, we did her book at the end of the year last year. Think and Grow Rich, powerful book. One of the things that she recommends is saying, when you wake up in the morning before you get out of the bed, is to say that something insanely amazing is going to happen to me today. And just by doing that, you will set up an expectation in the mind. And so what you are looking to do really is to shift your point of view. It is that when you're looking in the mirror, don't see yourself as you are, see yourself as you desire to be. So just like this little cat is looking in the mirror, but he's not seeing a cat, he's seeing a lion. Just seeing that shift in the point of view will literally give your brain, your body, that shot of dopamine, that shot of energy that you need. And if you take the affirmation that I just suggested, something insanely amazing is going to happen to me today, and you just make a 7-day commitment to using this affirmation and just see what happens, right? And so when you see yourself in the mirror, and the mirror is a wonderful way to program the mind. When you see yourself in the mirror, that there's this feeling that something good is about to go down. And it literally will give you that shot of dopamine, which then gives you that energy, which then picks you up so that you can keep going. And so it's one of the ways that you can trick the brain. And the thing is that what researchers have found is that it works both ways, that you can have unexpected joy, and that will give you the shot of dopamine, or, I'm not suggesting this, anybody take any drugs, or a doctor could regulate the dopamine in the body and it'll do the same thing. It goes either way, like you unexpected joy, more dopamine, or get more dopamine, and it produces the happy feelings basically. But it's to give that to yourself, and it is a natural way for you to get excited about what it is that you want to do. Which also explains why when you have a task that you don't have any joy around, like you've got to grade papers, Sherri, and the papers need to be turned in, and they've been waiting on the papers, Sherri, and so you need to hand the papers in, but you're not focused on the joy of grading the papers. You're focused on, oh, this is not, how long is it going to take me to get through these papers? Why did I assign so many assignments? That feeling is being drummed up, right? And so instead of having the energy that you need in order to move through grading the papers, it's like pulling teeth. But whereas if you could find the joy in it, right? I'm going to read this, and I'm going to discover a new voice, right? I'm going to discover someone who is a new voice that's popping in the class, right? So so now you're going in it with the expectation that I might discover someone or something. Now you get that energy. And so you've got something to pull you through that process. So this is why expectation is so important, because you need expectation to move through things. And the lower the expectation, the harder it is to go through the tasks that you need to get done, especially your daily tasks, the things that are important to do. And this is why people fall off the bandwagon, because they stop developing expectation. Can I expect the best without giving my best? So this was something that Bruce brought up, which is that what happens when you have a situation where you're expecting good from the universe, but everything turns out a different way than what you wanted it to turn out. You wanted a happy vacation, but everything went wrong. You got to the hotel and the booking wasn't together. You went to dinner and they messed up your food. There was a piece of hair in it, he uses examples like that. The thing is that you cannot expect God's best if you are not giving God's best. I included the Billy Preston song because I just thought it was so dope. He said, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You got to have something if you want to be with me. And that is the universe's message to you. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You got to have something if you want to be with me. The universe cannot work with nothing. Something must be given. The universe cannot grow unplanted seeds. The universe cannot grow unplanted seeds, and universal law cannot violate itself to give better than you have given it. So life is always going to be a mirror. We may not want to look in it, but it always reflects back to us what and how we have sown. The universe is always a mirror. The scripture to support that is Luke 6:38. Give, and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. So when you have those situations, it's just to realize nothing shows up without an invitation. Even when the vacation goes wrong, when the job goes awry, nothing shows up without an invitation. So if you go and you try to work the law, like, okay, I'm going to set up expectation. I'm going to expect the best, but I haven't given the best. I have half sown. When it's time for me to like put the effort in to do that which is mine to do, I'm half doing it. The universe can only give back to you what you've given it. It can only give you back to the extent that you have sown into it. It's always going to be a mirror, and it's never going to violate itself. If you need apples and you plant oranges, it doesn't course correct because you need oranges. It gives you apples because you planted apples. And it's the same thing if you need love, but you plant frustration or you plant anger. It can't course correct because you need love. It's like, this is what you want. I can only return to you that which you have given to me. And so it's just to realize that you nothing from nothing leaves nothing. And you got to have something. This is the universe talking to you and me. You got to have something if you want to be with me. That's just the bottom line. Constance says the first bullet reminds her of Reverend Evans, Canada, right? She said, if you go to bed stupid, you wake up stupid. Yes. Yes. If you don't want to be stupid, you got to cultivate it. God. Oh, wonderful. Thank y'all for that. Okay. So there's a solution, right? And the solution is that you got to challenge yourself to show up differently. That's really it. So many times we let how other people show up influence how we show up. So we work a job and other people give a half effort. And so we think, I am going to work myself that hard. Be self-motivated. Give your very best regardless of what others do. Paul says in Colossians, whatever your task, put yourself into it as done for the Lord and not for your master. When you're working, you have to remember, when I'm working, I'm sowing seeds in the universe. Yeah, I work for this employer, right? Absolutely. And my check comes from this employer as a channel, but not as a source. And so I am going to sow a seed wherever I am, even if it's a job that I hate. I'm going to sow a seed. I'm going to show up as if I am working for God, which you are. And so this is really, holding your own self accountable. That the seeds that I sow, the way that I show up, I'm not going to show up unprepared, because is that how I would show up for God? If we could personify God and I could, put God in the flesh and go and meet God and sit down and have a conversation, how would I show up to that conversation? Right? I wouldn't show up half prepared. But the thing is that you meet God every day in your coworkers, in your boss, or in your employees, in your stakeholders, the people that you serve through your business, in your family. You meet God every day. And what you are doing is sowing a seed in your own consciousness that must come back to you. It cannot be otherwise. So, how to expect the best in all situations. What I realized going through this is that point of view controls expectation. So just like if you had a meeting with, well, I'll use myself as an example. If I had a meeting with Oprah, right? And I knew that Oprah saw the Bible Hangout and she thinks it needs to be on OWN. There's a way I'm gonna show up to that meeting. There's a way that I'm gonna be very versed in her entire network. I'm gonna be versed on, to the degree that I can on her financials for the network, and I'm gonna have a clear picture of like where I think it fits on the net. I ain't gonna show up to this meeting unprepared. But what if I'm meeting with someone who's at such and such channel? Will I take that same level of preparation? Point of view controls expectation. Point of view controls expectation. If I'm meeting with somebody at such and such channel versus OWN, there's a level of expectation. The point of view shifts. And so the question is, what is the point of view with which I am approaching life? What is the point of view with which I am approaching life? And the point of view is going to control the degree and the level of expectation. The point of view is going to control the degree and the level of expectation. So the thing is that you have the ability to be certain even when you do not have physical evidence. You have the ability to be certain even when you do not have physical evidence. Here is the reality. In reality, you always expect something. There is no such thing as a moment in which you are not expecting something. The mind continually, perpetually forms expectations. The question is not whether you expect something, but rather what is it you expect? In most instances, we build expectation upon what we can see with our physical eyes. We determine what our workday will be like based upon interactions with our coworkers or our boss. We decide whether a family outing is fun based on how everyone behaves. In short, we take our cues from an external point of view. And so the key to expecting the best in all situations is that we have to shift our point of view from the outside to the inside. We have to stop making expectations based on what we can see with our eyes, and we have to make expectations based on what we can see with our spiritual eye. And the mind that expects the best in all situations must see beyond the physical eye. We must place hope in that which cannot be seen. Back in Colossians, Paul says, set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. Set your mind on things that are above. And so you have got to retool your perspective. You've got to go in your own mind and shift the way that you are seeing the situation and say, is my expectation based on what I can see with my physical eye or what I can see with my third eye? Reverend Sheila McArthur, who is the president of the Universal Foundation for Better Living, did this really powerful exercise. So the International New Thought Alliance, the 102nd Congress was last week. And I got an opportunity to speak. Thank you, Reverend Sheila. And she spoke on Friday. At the top of her talk, she did something that I thought was super powerful. The room was not even half full. Let's say that there was 40 people in a room that could have held 200. So you know that felt empty. And what she did was, at the top of her talk, she had everybody go and claim a row. So let's say that there were, I don't know, 15 rows, 3 sections. If you think of, like, section 1, middle, and then the right side, and then there were like 15 rows deep. So each person claimed a row in a particular section. And there were enough people that one person could claim a row, enough people could claim the rows on the right hand side, enough people can claim the rows in the center, and enough people can claim the rows on the left hand side. And then she said, I want you to see the people that are there, because you've got to claim it in your mind in order for the people to show up. And then she had us walk down the row that we had claimed, greeting the people who were there. It's like, do whatever you must to shift your perspective. It changed the energy in the room. It was so powerful. And so there is this, what's the word I want to ask? Where you begin to see beyond what you can see with your physical eye. And as you give your attention to it, as you base your expectation on it, what you expect changes. And so you're not basing your expectation on what you can see. You're basing your expectation on what you cannot see. Now, here's the thing. Whatever you think about, you give energy to. Whatever you think, if it crosses your mind, it gets a portion of your energy to the degree that you think about it. So don't give energy to what you don't want. The creative process of the universal laws, it's impartial, right? It works in accord with the input, and the input is whatever you think about. So it's just, all it is an energy transforming process, right? So you think about it and it's like, oh, that's what she wants. And the more you think about it, oh, she really wants that. And so when you think about negative conditions, past, present, future, right? When you're ruminating over all the things that happen in your life, you are giving energy to those conditions. And through the creative process, they're going to grow, they're going to expand. And eventually, if you keep on thinking about it, they're going to manifest. And the thing is, you might have to work with this idea, because there are many people who have bought into the idea that if others have it, I have to have it. So there are certain people who are having an experience because of who's in the White House, good, bad, or indifferent. And they have bought into the idea that because this person is in the White House or in quote unquote power, that there is a type of experience that I have to have because this person sits on what appears to be the opposite end of the spectrum of what I deem as important to me. And so you got to keep at the forefront of your mind that we don't belong to the world, for we have been chosen out of the world. What I mean chosen out of the world, I mean that we have developed an awareness that we are more than what we seem to be. And so the challenge is not the waking up. The challenge is to stay awake. You could wake up to being a spiritual being, but can you try not to go back to sleep about being a spiritual being? We do not belong to the world, for we have been chosen out of the world. We have come into an awareness that we are more than we appear to be. I'm not this flesh and blood body. I am the spirit that animates it. I am God in the flesh. And so others, even family members, they might be experiencing riot, chaos, confusion. Those things don't have to touch you or disturb you. In the midst of all of this, this is why the 91st Psalm is so powerful, and you do well to commit it to memory. Our world can be one of peace, order, and joy no matter what may be occurring on the outside. Our world depends on how we choose to view it, and more important, how we choose to create it through our expectancy, our beliefs, and our application of the universal laws. You may have to work with that because you may belong to an ethnic group where you believe that you have to have what everybody else got. You may have to work with that because you may belong to a family group or a gender, and you're convinced that these things have to be a part of my experience. And so you describe your experience in those terms. And the thing is that you get what you expect, and you're in control of what you expect. That flies in the face of a whole lot of stuff. So you may have to work with that idea. This might be the rubber meets the road where you say, Rev Sherri, I hear you, but I can't let go of this idea of racism. You know, the sexism, you don't understand what I've been through. So this might be a rubber meets the road moment. And I get that. But if you can trust the process of universal law, it's like either God is true or God is not true. It kind of like comes down to black and white on some of this stuff. Either it is or it ain't. With Tom and Jerry say, issue is or issue ain't, my baby. Issue is or issue ain't the truth. The truth is that law, God's law, is supreme. And though I may not in this moment know how to overcome all of the things that I might be facing, that does not mean that overcoming is not possible. That there can be some growing and some learning on my part to get there and to get beyond what seems to be the obstacle in my way. And so you can begin to speak, I am wealth. Yeah, but you don't know that you know, 70% of black families, they got, you know, they only have what, $1,700 in savings. There's a spiritual law that says that if I sow this seed, that I can trust this seed. And I'm going to trust the law of the universe more than I trust the so-called power of man. I'm going to stand in the awareness that I am a spiritual being, that I can control my own expectation, and that it can bring me into the overflow. And so I refuse the idea that I have to accept poverty because I was born in skin that looks like mine. I refuse the idea that I have to have hypertension and diabetes and because it's in the family or predisposed for people of color getting it more often than other folk. I refuse that idea. I'm changing my expectation. I expect health. I expect health. I expect wealth. Well, women over a certain age, you've got more chance. Well, they've gotten rid of that statistic, but you got more chance to get hit by a terrorist than you do to get married. Deuces for that nonsense. I expect love. Period. Constance says you really have to understand that the law is impartial and that all that we face as humans we have made up. Yes. And if we choose to see it a different way, it does not have to be our story. No. And I know that there are people who have entire models of their business built on trucking in misery, lack, and limitation. And if you listen to them long enough, they'll tell you all the reasons you can't have what the Bible, God, and every other spiritual guru says you can have. Anyway, I keep going because we're at 7:50. So think peace, right? In the midst of seeming chaos, think peace. Confusion approaches, declare order. If sadness threatens to overtake, insist upon joy. We always have control over what we think about, which means we always have control over what we experience. So I want to make this practical, but I want to kind of take a pulse point on where we are with this information. So at this point, how would you explain to someone the way to develop expectation? What would anything change about the definition? 60 seconds. Would anything change about what you said at the beginning if you held on to your comment? At this point in the conversation that we're having tonight, how would you explain to someone the way to develop expectation? If anything has shifted, I'm just trying to get a pulse on where we are. 30 seconds. At this point, how would you explain to someone the way to develop expectation? Constance says, we always have control on what we think about. Therefore, we always have control on what we experience. She said, just needs to write that. Ray says, know it, feel it, be it, for it is what you are. Oh, that's good stuff, Ray. Yes. 6 seconds. Time. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Andrea, I agree. She says, I like that, Ray. Yes. Beverly says, you expect what you believe. Yes. Quintina says, pay attention to what you think about. Always expect good occurring in your life. Yes, I agree. Yes. Absolutely. Cool. Let's keep going. So I want to get practical because we got to do something with this, right? And that is to concentrate on the joy, right? So science tells us that we get a burst of dopamine every time we imagine some future joy. That burst motivates us and inspires us, right? And the latest research indicates that the greater the level of expected pleasure, the greater the level of dopamine release. So the better you get imagining your future joy, the more dopamine you get, the more motivation you get. So the path to developing a mind that continually expects the best begins with a mind that concentrates on joy. So this is mental science, but also physical science. These are tests that have been done. And like I said, I put the research at the bottom of the blog post so you can go and read it for yourself. Science reveals that we get a burst of dopamine every time we imagine some future joy. The more joy you imagine, the more dopamine you get, that you inject in yourself, that you release inside of yourself. So the path to a mind that continually expects the best begins with a mind that concentrates, that focuses on joy. So you want to build into your day activities that put your attention on joy. I'll share with you a couple of things that I do. And I do this every morning before I start my day. The first thing is I journal 3 things that I'm grateful for. Then I set a timer for 2 minutes and I journal about something positive that happened within the last 24 hours. And then I set a timer for 5 minutes and I envision some future experience that I want to have. I call it my today's mental seed. Right? And the thing is that I still work with my mind wandering, right? So I can't just sit and imagine, because I'll, come out of it with a grocery list or a to-do list, or, my mind just wanders. So what I do is I actually do my visualization via a journal. And so what I'll do is I'll actually write out a scenario of some future good. And so even in the midst of a trying experience, I keep these habits, and my phone is out of reach, but I have an app on my phone called 7 Weeks, the number 7 and weeks, WEEKS. And so as I complete it, I check things off my list. So these are I consider these my non-negotiables on a daily basis. And so it's just little shots here and there, And the thing is that you may be in a situation where you feel little joy, where it's just, life has lost all of the flavor, it seems. And so what I would encourage you to do, because this really has made a difference for me, is to have some kind of non-negotiable morning routine. That it is, no matter what, I would do it before I brush my teeth, right? That if I had to choose, Reverend Jackie Atkins out of Chicago says if you got 5 minutes and you got to get out the door and you got a choice between brushing your teeth or meditating and put a piece of gum in your mouth. It's you prioritize your joy. You prioritize your development. That it is most important to who you are. What I know from experience is that if you do it, you may be in the midst of a really dark place, but if you will persist, it will be slow going, but eventually your mind will turn around. The vibration in your universe absolutely will reverse, and you can trust. Hey Pascal, this is my buddy from Nigeria. He says, go to sleep stupid, wake up stupid. Yes. Good to see you, Pascal. But this was the piece that I really wanted, that I was excited about to give you guys. So prime the pump every morning, right? Every morning you got something that you do that just connects you to the joy in your spirit. But this is taking this thing to the next level. Get ready for what you want. Motion creates emotion. And what I realize is that we naturally develop expectation for whatever we physically get ready for. So if you will physically begin to get ready for what you want, your mind will naturally develop expectation for the thing you want. And you already know that this works. If you have ever worked out with the intention of getting into better physical shape, you know that after a certain amount of time in the gym, you begin to expect to look and feel better. And if you don't, you asking questions, right? If you're in the gym and you're working out, and especially if you're paying money to a trainer, but you still wear the same size and it's you 3 months in, questions are being asked. Okay, we're gonna need to have a come to Jesus moment, and we're gonna need to talk about what's going on, because maybe we need to change some things, right? Maybe this money is not really well spent, right? Because I'm putting my money where my mouth is, but I'm still weighing the same thing, right? All my clothes still fit just as snugly as they did before I walked in this door, right? So the mind naturally, it's an automatic process. You don't have to drum it up. That you taking action toward a thing naturally drums up the expectation. So here's the thing. The thing about working out is that you're specific, right? You are absolutely specific. You know, I'm going to go in, I'm going to work on my abs, I'm going to work on my biceps, my back. Okay, the next day I'm going to work on my legs, my quads, my glutes, right? It begins to set up an expectation in your mind. Jordan is in swimming lessons. He's been in swimming lessons for about 6 weeks, right? He's getting ready to start his new lesson on this coming Saturday. I have an expectation he's going to get better. If he were not getting better, I'd be looking like, okay, well, what's going on? Because we're doing the work for him to learn to swim and to be more comfortable in the water. So if he's not more comfortable in the water, and if he's still about to drown every time he gets in the water, he's still equally afraid of the water, I start to ask questions, right? I've got an expectation about this. So there's something to the physical getting ready that automatically drums up a sense of expectancy. Andrea said, I want to see that food diary if I'm training a person who is doing all the exercise and not losing weight. Yes. So this is the thing. This principle works in every other area of your life. If you will begin to get ready for the thing that you want, your mind will automatically develop the expectation. And here's the thing. You can sow a seed on every level. That's the beauty. You can sow a seed on every level. So what I mean by that is that we live on 3 levels, that we are spirit, we're soul or mind, and we're body, right? Spirit, soul, body, or spirit, mind, body. On the spirit level, I'm going to go meet God in prayer every day. Every day we're going to get into a conversation about this. I'm not begging for what I want, but I'm talking to the spirit about what I want. And I'm getting into a relationship about, well, okay, what do I need to do today? What action do I need to take today toward the thing that I want, right? That I'm getting into communication about it. On the mental level, I am visualizing, right? I'm writing, I'm seeing myself in that future joy, right? I'm sitting in that space where I'm out under the tree with Miss Oprah Winfrey, and we're discussing whatever book is out for that moment, right? We're discussing the book, and I'm in that space, and I'm feeling what it feels like to be there, and I'm in the moment of all the joy of what it means to be under that tree, and right? Physically, I get up and do something, but I do something specific because I'm sowing a seed on every level. If you show up deliberate, sowing a seed on every level, you're working with a law. You're working with a law. If you put an apple seed in the ground and the soil is good, you're going to get a result because that's just how it works. The only reason you wouldn't get a result is like, okay, well, I didn't water it. Well, okay, but that's the everyday part. You got to show up every day. Okay, well, the ground wasn't really good. Well, okay, we're actually doing that with the random acts of kindness to kind of test to see where we are with being able to maintain that over a 30-day period to see what kind of soil, we're working with. Are our lives too busy? That we can't do one random act of kindness every day, right? So that tells you, okay, well, I got some things I need to say no to because I've got too many things on my plate. But if I work with this thing, if I put a seed in the soil every day, spirit, mind, body, it has to come back. The universe is exact. I can trust it. I'm working with a law. I'm not working with man. I'm working with a law. And so whatever it is that you want, you can begin to get ready for it on every level of your life. Get ready for it. And so you get on your mark. And when you're getting on your mark, it's like, all right, y'all, let's go. We sowing seeds up in here. Every day visualizing. Every day I'm doing something specific. Even if it's a baby step, I'm doing something specific toward what I want. Every day I'm having a conversation with God about this good that's important to me that I want. That I'm not leaving this to chance. I'm sowing a seed every day across every level of my life. I will automatically drive up my level of expectation, and your expectation brings it into expression. You've got the feeling for it. The law always delivers. God rewards our work. And so finally, it's time to do something. The mind naturally forms expectation. And the question that you have to ask yourself is, what have you been allowing your mind to form an expectation behind? Has it been forming an expectation of, oh, I'm getting old and things happen when I get old, or when you reach a certain age? What have you been allowing your mind to form an expectation behind? And then leave a comment on the YouTube video for this lesson. What was your biggest takeaway, and how can you use what you've heard in this broadcast? But what have you been allowing your mind to form an expectation behind? Questions? Phyllis says it's not the trainer. That's what's going on in the client's mind. Yes. Yes. Quintina says, pay attention to what you think about. Always expect good occurring in your life. Yes. Wonderful. So next week, what is chapter 6? Oh, shoot. I forgot what chapter 6 is. It's a law. It's a spiritual law.
Laws
Andreas,
of cause and effect.
laws of cause and effect. Thank you. Laws of cause and effect. Any questions? Andrea says, live each moment intentionally. Yes. Quintina says, I have been forming an expectation of obtaining my master's degree. I start my program on August 29th. Yes. Rev Sherri, I think I can expect things, but I can never stick to anything for long. What can I do? That's where that dopamine comes in. That imagining that future joy, it happens automatically. There's nothing you have to do to make it happen. It's just what the body does. And literally imagining that future joy. So whatever it is that you want, sitting in that space where you have it, and beginning to imagine yourself with it, and thinking about it in a way, not like it's far away from me, but thinking about it as if it's already realized, that it will literally begin to give you that dopamine. The brain releases dopamine when that happens. This is a natural process that happens in the body. The brain releases that dopamine, and it's the dopamine that regulates motivation. Now, the first time you do it, are you going to get up and all of a sudden run and start getting everything done? Maybe not. But if you will persist, you will begin to wake up that energy inside of you. And so it's to persist through that process. Oh, thank you, Pascal. Pascal said, I really benefited from this a lot. Thanks, and keep it up. Yay! Thank you, Pascal. Shout out to my friends in Nigeria. Actually, I don't even think that's where you are, Pascal. You live all over the world. So you may be in Canada. You might be anywhere right now. Constance says, no questions, just a great class. I go to sleep with positive affirmations. Do you think visualizations will assist? Yes. I believe when I read the science behind this, the first thing I thought about when they started talking about imagining some future joy was visualization. That was the first thing I thought about. That when we visualize something that we want, some joy that we want to experience, that on a chemical level, that literally, or a hormonal level, that literally the brain is releasing dopamine. But that was the first thing I thought about when I read that. She said, how about you do one and put it up on YouTube and do it with us? Yes, I will do that. You mean a visualization? Okay. Yes, I will do that.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Yes, I will do that. Okay. He's in Toronto, Canada. All right, y'all. Phyllis says, do mental rehearsal. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly that mental rehearsal, but it's sitting in that space. So Pascal, if I can use you as an example, because my Pascal is a world class producer, and just I have so many things that I appreciate about him and about his hustle and his drive, that it would be sitting in that space in the Academy Theater, right? So you're in the, it's not called the Kodak anymore. Who bought it? But anyway, it used to be called the Kodak Theater over on Hollywood and Highland. And you're in your tuxedo, and you are sitting there, and maybe you've been nominated for Best Foreign Film. And it's a prestigious honor, because they really have not, recognized films from the continent. So it's a big deal that you've gotten this nomination, and you're going through the experience, and so you're seeing yourself. Brad Pitt's like, Pascal, I really love that film. Man, you did that, Will Smith is there, and he's like, Pascal, right? And so, but you're in that space, and you're feeling that feeling, and the brain is literally releasing that dopamine, literally releasing it. And there's that motive. And if you just continue to sit in that, is that you begin to wake that up. And from a mental science standpoint, you awaken the imagination, and the imagination begins to look for the practical means along which the experience can come out of the invisible and into the visible. But there's a persistence part of this, right? So this is not just do it one time and then you're done. This is a everyday show up, every day. That discipline, like, this is what I'm doing every day. I'm doing this. And it begins to change you from the inside out. And so it doesn't matter that it's never happened before, because it's happening inside of me. And if I let it happen inside of me, the nature of how this universe works, it's going to happen in the physical, because that's just how this thing works. Quintina says, I always have so much energy at the end of class that I can't go to sleep. Quintina says, is that living from the end? This is something Wayne Dyer talked about. Yes, and I'm going to tell you, Wayne Dyer got his stuff from Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard is the king of talking about living from the end. I don't even know if I could find it fast enough. I rewrote it because he wrote it in the masculine, and I rewrote it in the feminine. I'll try to find it while we're here. Victoria says, I'm seeing myself at the Up Church before the year's end. Yes! Come on to LA, girl. Come on. Live in the end. Oh. Okay, I hope this brings it up. Because I wrote it, and it was so powerful. Come on, Neville. I was trying to think of a keyword. She who knows. Anyway, he had this paragraph in the book Awakened Imagination, and it basically said, he who lives in the end. Gosh, I have to find it and post it. I can't remember. I'm looking on my iPad to see if I can bring it up. Okay, I can't find it fast enough. But anyway, it is this idea of living in the end that literally living in the end drives it back into your experience. That when you take yourself there and you sit in that space of feeling, that you wake up all of the alchemical processes that happen in your own mind, and it just becomes a matter of time. And so if you can discipline yourself to stay in the end, to stay in that space of sowing a seed every day, mind, body, spirit. Every day, mind, body, spirit. I don't miss a day. I don't miss a day to take some physical action. I don't miss a day to take some spiritual action. I don't miss a day to take some mental action, that you literally drive it into expression. And so the promise that all of these spiritual gurus make on living this deliberate creation, that it's possible, but it is, there's a discipline that has to come with it, because there's a day where you sow a seed and it looks like something is always happening. It looks like nothing is happening. And so it takes a level of spiritual maturity to know that when I do something, something is always happening. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Constance. She said, do you know Reverend Ike did his with his congregation? Okay, I'll make sure I open that. Awesome. Thank you, guys. So the laws of cause and effect next week. Have a great night. Still trying to look for this. Anyway, good night, everybody. I will see you guys next Thursday night.
I just put a link there with.
I did. I just opened it. On Awakened Imagination. Yes. Oh, perfect. It's a PDF. Girl. Okay, this is going in the law library. Awakened Imagination. It's on the goodie list. Thank you. Perfect. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye.